Welcome once more, and thanks for tuning in to the Dark Heresy series. Session 4 has been and gone, and I am here to report, sort of, on what has happened, because, as always, we are being spoiler-free. We're having to stay spoiler-free here because we are playing the pre-written adventures, the professionally purchased ones. Here is the book we've been using, Dark Heresy, Purge the Unclean. Adventures of intrigue, action, and horror. We can see that it's yay-sized. Now that book has got 3 pre-made adventures in. We are in the middle of the first adventure that comes in the Purge the Unclean book. The approximate plot, without trying to give too much away, is that, well, we're investigating a kidnapping, and the opening handout that you, the acolytes, are given is information about a group called the Joyous Choir. They seek to find holiness and goodness and glory and in faith and that sort of thing. So it sounds very overzealous. The Inquisitor hands you this to determine what you think about it, and then starts giving you raw intel, and then you start investigating into this kidnapping scenario. Now it's the kidnapping of a noble, and so you need a cover story of being a noble. We actually do have a noble, so he was perfect for the job. That would be Patraig, our arbitrator, and that the rest of the team are with him for several different reasons as his retinue. My assassin is there as his bodyguard. The cleric is present, and his cover is that he's the noble's spiritual advisor, because they have a group of oddities based on whim that is afforded to them due to their higher financial status. And finally, to complete the entourage, we've got the female scum class person, Kistine Gix. Her cover is that she is there, well, essentially as a consort. Pete, with his arbitrator, had to take some ballroom dancing lessons. He's left on his own to practice. Well, he does have Jerichus the assassin with him, and he's saying, "Oh, will you be my dance partner to practice with me?" And Jerichus is saying, "Not on your life." We had Caractacus, the cleric, end up in a bar that was supposed to be for the ecclesiarchy, but it was less than religious because it had a lot of, working girls there, and some unusual rules. Our scum, Kisdine, who's the kleptomaniac, decide to steal a squirrel out of the giant tree there and end up with it on her person, moving around under the shirt, going like that. We've seen Pete's arbitrator have a marked improvement in roleplay now, but so much so that he's getting at Kisdine quite a lot and really getting on her case for the sort of crime she's committing, and it's got to the point where the Caractacus, the cleric, is really trying to stick up for Kisdine, trying to, suggest to Pete's character, I actually saw that she wasn't stealing anything. I saw she was just picking it up to look at it. She was just picking it up off the floor or whatever it dropped, and backing up her story, even though he knows full well that she was trying to steal it. Whatever he's up to, I don't know. Maybe the two characters are having some sort of fling on the side. Scary. But yes, I don't think the ballroom dancing is so much Pete's style. He's more of a country and western fan, so I think he would have liked line dancing more. But anyway, it's probably our best session yet. I think we all enjoyed it more than we have. The GM had a stronger sense of the storyline of what he was actually doing. It helps if the GM actually understands the plot, doesn't it? And very often these things can lose the plot. We had a psyker along with us. Now, the psyker was played by the GM for this session, just to come along in an RP sense, really. And there was an interesting occurrence when at one point the psyker called Raize, as in Raize, tried walking up a wall and had a terrible mishap, perils of the warp styly, and just got this huge big like mind backlash wave just came off him and hurt the rest of the group to varying different degrees. And it's interesting that Pete's character has really got that anti-psyker thing going on, hatred. He was saying, well, look, this is exactly the reason I don't want a bloody psycho with us. Any more of this and I'll do something to you myself. I'll be judge, jury and executioner. Did damage us, but we managed to recover our health. There was a lot of misunderstanding on actually what gender the psycho was, and that was quite funny. Where even the GM who was playing him was being a bit ambiguous about the subject. And, no, it is a man. Oh, she's a man, is she? Yeah. Or is he a girl? Which is it? I don't know. Then it was an ongoing joke where we were referring to him as maybe being a bit of both, and we still can't work out the gender on this strange-looking person. So, some notes were made on improvements that need to take place, and certain elements that we want to start introducing to the sessions now. Because as it was, with the first 3 sessions, we still weren't running it with the absolute complete rules, so we want to start bringing in the full extent of the rules and opening the game up. The first point that you should all take on board if you're going to play Dark Heresy, a major warning to you in fact, is make sure you have a sheet to keep track of your skills and talents that you purchase through your ranks, okay? I cannot stress this highly enough. In the case of things like Sound Constitution, which gives you an extra wound, sometimes you can take multiples of that, and all it does is add to your wounds. And because there's no box to show us starting wounds like there is in Woothrup, you can't tell what your starting wounds were, so it's not like you can't even backwards engineer to find out how many you've taken. You've just got your natural amount of wounds, and that's it. What we'll do is we'll have a quick look at my character sheet to put across what I'm talking about and what it is you need to watch out for, okay? Then you'll understand. You see those couple that are written in pencil at the bottom? See that common law tech int and survival int. Now that's under the basic skills list. And remember, basic skills is tests that anybody can take, but if they don't have it as skilled, as in, you know, a tick in the first box, then they can't do it at the full of their stat. So let's just say I wanted to do evaluate, and that's int check. So I'd have to use my int, which is 27, but because I don't have it in skilled, I'm actually at half characteristic. So any of these not ticked, I can attempt at half characteristic. Like barter is half characteristic, but awareness at the top there, I have ticked, so I can do that with its perception with full characteristic. So I'd be able to do it with a 31 instead of the like 15, 16, whatever. The 2 that I've written in there is because of my package, I'm able to treat those 2 as basic skills. It said treat those 2 as basic skills, and that means I don't have them as skills, but I'm actually allowed to attempt them at half characteristic rolls. Normally these are things that would be considered these advanced skills, and it's things like this that you either have it or you don't. If you don't have it, you can't even attempt it at a half characteristic roll. You simply can't do it. So hopefully there'll be a way to actually get skilled in it and get better. You see the next tick there is 10% in these columns, and then 20 on that side. Now there isn't enough space on there really to keep track of everything that you might pick up in your skills packages, and that's why there's a different sort of character sheet. It's an alternate character sheet. It's this one. That's the side with the psychic powers on, so ignore that, but I'm just showing you in its fullness what it looks like. And this side is the one that I use, and it's just a secondary sheet. So you can see along the top here, I'm ticking the characteristics that I upgrade, just as a reminder that I've taken them. It's just to say, oh, I've took Agi and I've took Ballistic. But also, you see the rank 1 advances, and it tells me how many Sound Constitutions I've took. So you see at the top, Sound Constitution 100, and I'm allowed to take it twice at rank 1. So you can see the ditto there and 100. So I won't accidentally take it again and get more wounds, because each Sound Constitution gives you a wound. Then you can see I've got the pilot there for civilian craft, and that was 100. And then you see the box below is rank 2 advances. So you can see what I've spent in rank 2. Acrobatics for 100, Sound Constitution And I know it's not very clear to read in there, but that's heightened senses hearing. And that's for 100. And then the rank 3 advances, we can see rapid reload I get access to in rank 3, so I took it. Another sound constitution, so that's another wound. You always get at least 1 wound a rank, but sometimes multiples, you see, and that's the problem. And I've got dodge plus 10. You see, being an assassin, I already started with dodge as one of the basic skills, but this allowed me to improve it. And then hence, as soon as I took it and wrote it down, we then look for dodge, which is right there, dodge AG, and you see it's now on the plus 10 to jog me to know that I add plus 10 to my agi stat. So my agi's 41. So now I've got dodge plus 10, I can dodge at 51. But really, all your group need to keep track of what rank things you've bought. It's good for you to look at what you've done as a shortlist so you don't think about taking it again. But it's really important for those sound constitutions. You need a bit of order. Now, another thing that I wasn't completely clear about was some of the things you can do with the full auto burst mode. Actually allows you to hit other targets within 2 meters of the first, and you can distribute them up to, the bonus bullets to any of the other targets you like. So it is great actually for firing into a crowd. That's just to clear that up because I had a question before about full auto, so that answers you. I hope that helps. That's any of the bonus bullets. Because of the general RP feeling behind playing it before, and it was in our heads and not so much miniatures play. Again, there was a lot of grey area. I don't think it really suited the group. The group was, in its majority, mostly miniature wargamers coming from miniature gaming backgrounds, Warhammer and the like. And to us, using miniatures and rolling dice doesn't detract away from the roleplay experience, because all it really does for us, we're able to imagine beyond that. We're already picturing the experience. When we used to play Warhammer and the like, we had a 6x4 board of all miniatures conducting battles with each other, manoeuvring around, but we used to have a storyline to it and a point to the battle, a plot, an actual storyline result at the end of the battle. We'd always try and fluff it up a bit. So I suppose we've ingrained the concept of having a realistic experience involved with miniatures, so it doesn't really affect us like it might some other groups. So we're a bit of a unique group in that way. But we've suffered a bit by not using the miniatures because of the relative positioning issues. How do we know that if somebody did attempt this charge that he would have actually made it? Because there's a difference between the different sorts of movements. You can do a basic move for a half action, or you can do the longer move for the full action, or you can do the charge, and that's a bit longer and you get a bonus, or you can do the run and that's even longer. Did your guy actually get to the enemy? Can he charge him? These things can be interesting to do with the tactical depth. How far away is that cover for me to be able to run to it and get to it in time before they open fire on us again? Because a combat round is 5 seconds long, so if you think about it in terms of that, they fired at you and you're all running for cover and you're trying to get ready to return fire. So we said, right, we're going to be using the miniatures more, we're going to use the terrain more, and people are going to have to do things like ready their damned weapons. Some people weren't doing that. And readying a weapon means that you bring it up, you sight it up, or you get it out. Either way, any of that costs a half action. Which means, in that turn, anything that is a full action, you can't do it now. You can only do another half action, or try and do a whole action thing as an extended action. So if you've just readied your weapon, you've got half an action left, right? So if you want to do a full action, you'd have to say, well, I'm doing the full action, and I've done half of that full action this turn. You'll then complete that full action next turn as an extended action. But it's a delay, that's what's important. And this readying weapons business, and the enemy doing it too, it really brings a tactical thought to the battle. Now, we've said that if you ready your weapons during narrative time, before initiative is rolled for to see who's going first, who's going to fight in what fighting order, then you ready your weapon and it's not on the basis of time and you've already got your gun out. But of course, readying your weapon during narrative can sometimes be iffy and might actually cause battle where you don't think it necessarily will. But yeah, it's essentially about the interaction of the moves and how they get us to where we are and how it relates to us. And it really can be the difference between life and death, especially in a game that so heavily relies on being able to go into cover. And the reason all of this is important for Dark Heresy especially is that it has been said before that the Dark Heresy game, in its pure combat mechanics system only, it can be played as a war skirmish battling game in a standalone manner. How about that? That you could just play it like a game of Mordheim or Necromunda, if you know what those are, or like a game of Malifaux, or any other squad v squad based miniatures skirmish game. So it's so well integrated with its scenery rules and concepts like that. So we really ought to take advantage of it more. We've been playing on quite a small space, so what we could say, if we don't want to set up, map grids and stuff like that, because we've worked it out like a meter is an inch and that sort of thing. If we are using small table space, we get out the old tape measure, and instead of using meter per inch, we say, well, in this battle, it's going to be a centimetre per metre, and so it gives you a lot more table to play with, doesn't it? Also, remember to track your ammo. It's very important. Keep track of how much ammo you've used in your clip. You've got to keep writing that stuff down, because if you run out, it could take like a full action or longer to reload. And that should be an action that you're supposed to be spending changing magazine or whatever it is you do to reload, and not actually getting to fight. And that's why skills like rapid reload exist, which I've taken, which half the reload action. And again, there's a quick draw thing, for instance, that halves the time it takes to ready a weapon. So if you're not readying and keeping in mind all that sort of thing, that's another thing that you might as well not even buy. RP awards are mentioned in the Dark Heresy rulebook on page 229. Now it suggests in there that for good role-playing you can give out an amount of experience. But yes, by no means should this be a certain thing that they should definitely get it. The good roleplay awards in the after experience workout thing, that's really in place to try and encourage good roleplay. So a GM should really determine in a checklist fashion per player, alright, did you entertain me enough? How much did you entertain me? Now the book suggests that you should grant anywhere from 20 to 50 bonus experience if you're going to do it. In some of the actual adventure books, they suggest higher numbers. They say things like, 100 experience or however much for good roleplay and these sort of things, ingenious player ideas or character ideas. And you've got to be careful with that, because what the GM was doing before, I think he was probably scared of making some of the players feel, oh, that's a bit unfair. They're getting more than me and that sort of thing. He was saying, right, well, you over there, you'll get 100 for really good roleplay, and because the thing tells him to give them 100 if he so wishes, and you'll get the 100 because you came up with some ingenious ideas and that sort of thing. And immediately there's a problem there. The person that got the 100 for the good roleplay came up with really ingenious ideas as well, and that's admitted by the GM, but he gets the same amount of bonus experience as the person that only had 1 or 2 ingenious ideas, but really didn't convincingly roleplay, perhaps, in a manner that was enough to earn bonus experience, let's just say. So it's not even a case of being horrible, it's a case of, it was just good. It wasn't outstanding, and that's what it should be granted for, outstanding roleplay. Memorable, entertaining to the GM. And so we had a bit of a problem there, because in theory, the person that did both should have got double experience. So the way you should probably really do it if you're going to grant 100 is to say, well, 0 to 50 for roleplay and 0 to 50 for ingenious, entertaining ideas you come up with. Ways around things that solve things in a unexpected, clever manner. Then that way you could say, well, I'll give you 20 for the roleplay and I'll give you 10 for the ingenious ideas, and you've scored 30 out of 100. Or you could score 70 out of 100, or whatever other figure in between. And the one player might get one thing and another player might get another. And yeah, the amounts would vary, but by a small amount. If need be, the GM could just write it out on paper what they get and give that to the players and say, well, I don't want you sharing it with each other. So then there's no issues of jealousy at any point down the line. So he's a bit more switched onto that now. Giving it out appropriately in a measured manner really encourages the players to do better. Otherwise, if you're just going to hand it out in the original manner that it was, you're saying, Right, well, you've not been at your best, and now I'll reward you so that you can do that some more, which is completely counterintuitive to the idea of the rule. Well, I will let you get back to your existence outside of the 41st millennium, where there is only constant war. And I shall meet you for another encounter of escapism next time. See you at the table.